Hello guys and welcome back to the Daily Eye Show. I'm Salim Asgarally and
I'm Veenaa Bakshi.
Lovely to be back again here and chitter-chatter as usual on things of great interest.
Oh yeah.
You know, Veena, I have been kind of thinking of what wonderful times we have actually been living in. We are very fortunate to have actually seen technology emerge in the manner that it has.
Yep.
We are almost in 2020 coming up. So what's 2050 going to be like?
In fact, before we come to that, we are considered as the luckiest, the most knowledgeable generation because we have actually gone from analog, from everything completely analog to digital. So we've seen video coming in, Salim.
Yes, we've seen the change actually happening from video formats to digital formats.
Yes.
To, we don't know what's going to happen next. In fact, there were days when we didn't have things like cloud storage in the manner that we do have now. But again, coming back to my favorite topic, fashion.
Okay, interesting.
So what's fashion going to be like in 2050 is where my mind was actually in the last couple of days. And I was like, reading up on a whole lot of things about what's textile going to be like coming up, going forward. Because there's so much research happening, Veena, on textiles and the kind of clothing that trend forecasters are predicting that people are going to go for. So it's going to be high-tech fabrics, what they call smart fabrics.
Okay.
It's also called textile computing. So what they do is they have these very fine wiring and computer chips which the fabric gets inlaid with actually. So when you wear a garment made out of that kind of a fabric, it will, like maybe, boxer shorts for men. It'll tell you everything, their blood pressure, their heartbeat, their respiration, their kidney functions, liver functions, and maybe even your emotional state of mind.
My mind is getting very naughty hearing about boxer shorts for men with computers. So I'm wondering like, okay, I mean, do I get all the information or?
Yes, that's why I said you'll know the information.
I'm not interested in kidney functions and things.
So that takes us to the kind of clothing that we'll be wearing, especially what are women going to be wearing, because I largely do clothing for women, and what came to my mind then was smart saris, maybe saris which will really empower women. You know why? Because now it's not only that it will analyze every part of their physical functioning, but it could also give a rape alert, for instance.
Actually, for women, I wouldn't just stop at saris, Salim. Women's clothing. Okay, let's see by 2050. I mean, right now, we're speaking of a period which is 30 years from today.
Right.
And it's like we discussed earlier, is that technology has moved slowly from the 1950s to where we are today. So the steps have been gradual, they've been one by one, experiment, go ahead, experiment. But today, every 6 months, technology seems to be changing.
And fashion and textile have always been propelled by technology.
Yes.
In the 60s, you had polyesters.
Yeah.
So you had this entire polyester parade from every kind of clothing that you looked at was polyester. So now we are probably moving into the smart fabric arena of things.
One of the things on the serious note, on the serious side, is one of the things that women's clothing could take a shape of is become alerts.
Yes.
Okay, so any kind, I mean, why just saris, anything, uniform, jeans, shorts, t-shirts, anything. That would be so wonderful because if you look at it that way, and if it can start, but by 2050, it would have been much more advanced.
True.
So yes, going with what you're saying is that how wonderful to wear something where you have a rape alert, you have a way of through your clothing itself being able to communicate that hey, I'm in danger.
Yes.
Or even for instance, in some kind of a manner, can you imagine give somebody an electric shock? Something, but that would be dangerous because the wearer, the
so mace goes out of fashion.
Mace is already out of fashion.
Yeah, so it's like you come too close to me, you get a shock.
You come too close to me, my sari is going to whip your ass.
You touch me inappropriately and you're in for trouble.
Yeah, basically.
Or also from the other point of view, something that's very interesting is, suppose you are on the way to a heart attack and you yourself don't know about it, but your clothing can tell, your clothing can inform your family members.
Yeah, but
those are great advantages that we are probably looking at.
But one of the problems with women,
Yeah.
You don't really want to listen to anyone. So can you imagine your t-shirt telling you, hey, you're having a heart attack, and you're like, shut up.
Shut up. Mind your own business.
Just be warned. What would fashion designs be like in India by 2050? What do you think?
Where
do you think women are trending today so you can predict 30 years from now?
Definitely, my gut feeling is that styles are going to be more gender neutral. It's not about that women should wear a dress or a frock or a sari or a shalwar kameez suit and men need to wear the pants only. So there is going to be a fair exchange of styles that right now are very segregated. So you will see men wearing things like maybe a very fashionable skirt, or maybe like, who knows, men might even wear something like a bra.
You know something? In today's day and age, more than half the Indian men, sorry, they're going to kill me, but more than half the Indian men do need bras.
They do or they don't?
They do.
They do. Well, that's working out excessively at the gym, probably.
Not just the gym. I mean, have you seen them? They all like rowly, poly, and but these little paunches and man boobs and stuff.
In fact, I think people are very conscious these days about going to the gym, especially the younger lot. I think you're talking of an older generation, maybe.
No, there is a cross section of men. There is this people who do go to gym and then they go to the other extreme, and there is one extreme which is on this side, which has all kinds. But anyway, we can always talk. Talking of that, 2050 could also bring about a revolution of exercising at home. So your furniture in the house can actually be converted into exercising equipment.
Absolutely.
So in 2050, if you look at furniture, so your bed then can be converted into like a treadmill.
Yes.
So right now you don't have space to keep a treadmill, but by 2050 you buy a bed which also becomes a treadmill combination, or your chair becomes a gadget for lifting.
What I think is, the requirement for space is going to be so huge, because with the population almost doubling and tripling by 2050, space is going to be a constraint.
Yes.
So you might have things which are placed as virtual props, which actually do not exist, but are there virtually, and when you don't want them around, you just press a switch and there they disappear. So it could be that whole Aladdin effect as well. But what's really catching my attention as well is the fact that designers might really become defunct.
One is ShopBot.
Yes.
Okay, that fine. Today you can buy online.
Yes.
So ShopBot, maybe virtual reality. So I have this whole rack that can be pulled holographically in front of me. And I can say, fine, I can wear this. That is one. Two is what we speak of is specifically designer wear. Okay, so like what you're saying is that designers may become redundant because I can do my own designing. No, I can do my own designing, yes, but I do not have the expertise that a designer has.
So designers will take on a different role. They may not disappear, as we were talking about, but it will change. Fashion shows will change a lot for sure. You'll have completely immersive experiences, which already have started happening. So I think by the time we scale to 2050, you can be sitting just about anywhere and watching the show in a manner that you are a part of it. And another thing, of course, very close to all designers is weddings.
Weddings.
And it's a big thing for India, the big, fat Indian wedding. What's going to happen to it in 2050?
Tell me about it, yes.
Gosh, because, there have been talks of we will probably be shifting to the moon,
Moon they've been talking about for many years. I mean, the first man on the moon was in the 60s. Neil Armstrong.
Chandrayaan
having been there. But see, the thing is that Chandrayaan is right now they're sending a robot, onto the robot space.
They've been selling property on the moon. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
So
in 2023, there are some 2023. I think is it 2023? In the 20s, there is a group of people. There's some 51 or 60 people who already signed up to go to Mars.
Yes.
And they're never coming back. Okay, so we'll only get reports from there. So yes, there is a possibility of us moving out to other planets. God, we've made a mess of this earth, now we're going to go and make a bloody mess of the other 9 planets, or the 8 planets.
Can you imagine all the dhol baja on Mars? What fun!
And the Martians will run away.
You'll have elephants and you'll have the horses and you'll have everything, but they'll have to probably import them, or will they have robotic ones?
I have a question. Is if you don't get to the bloody airport or to the launch pad in this kind of traffic, can you imagine what the roads are going to be like in 2050, Salim?
I don't think we are really going to need roads, Veena. I think modes of transport are going to change drastically. You have the loop coming, the loop system, the loop train, as they call it, the Hyperloop, the Virgin Hyperloop. So which is supposed to take you like in 5 minutes for distance from Mumbai to Pune. So you could be having breakfast here and lunch in New York, for instance.
The only thing is that, okay, I'm being a cynic over here, is that they haven't managed to get 5 potholes straight in a road and they're working on a Hyperloop. So the whole argument actually has been all over the place saying that to get to the Hyperloop station, your roads are potholed. So by 2050, there's not going to be a single space for any car on the road because as it is, the roads are filled.
Yes.
So yes, the roads are gone. Okay, you have Hyperloops. So maybe people within a city, like they say it's going to be 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something from Bombay to Pune.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
So it's like a few seconds from Churchgate to Andheri.
But what I'm saying is, Veena, we might just jump that entire phase, that entire requirement for these wonderful roads, because you can just fly out of your window and reach the Virgin Loop, or just fly to your destination. That could also happen. It's a possibility. You could have flying cars. Who's to say? You're already on to, driverless cars which are self-driven. They don't come without even like steering wheels now.
Very true.
So,
Speaking purely of India, I am a bit of a cynic over here in the sense that considering the way people have these very diverse views on everything, where we are speaking of flying cars and say like, fine, I mean, great, I'd like to have a car that flies out of my bedroom straight into, I get into the seat and go, I'm out. There's this whole thing about whether that car is holy or not.
That's another issue. It's like, how far are we going to take this entire thing about religion, food, holy, not holy? Let's see what technology does to that.
Do you think food, by 2050, do you think we'll still be growing food as in the traditional way? Or is food going to get reduced?
No.
Is food going to get reduced to little
food
pills?
Is going to be lab grown for sure, because and I think it's great news for all vegetarians and animal lovers and all those who are against cruelty to animals, because now as we approach 2050 and in the years to come, most of our food is going to be grown in labs. So you're going to have protein which is synthesized, which serves as your meat. Even as far as fashion is concerned, you're not going to be using things like leather any longer, because it'll all be lab grown. They're making leather substitutes out of mushrooms. These huge mushrooms which are grown in labs are going to have the texture and feel and hand of leather, but it's not going to come off an animal's back.
Yeah, in fact, that's good news also, because then the number of cattle slowly starts reducing, because cattle right now produces the largest amount of methane, which is also contributing to climate change.
So one of the things that also bothers me, it doesn't bother me actually, I'm quite happy about it, is what happens to the wedding lehenga. Talking about smart fabrics, talking about fashion changing, talking about destination weddings. You might need a spacesuit now, right? Not
the wedding lehenga can become a helicopter. Can you imagine?
What fun!
Yeah, so she presses a button on her jewelry and the whole thing goes vrrrr, and they both
all those who are
fly off to
planning to get married around in 2050, you need to do a rethink on what you're going to be wearing. Yeah, your bridal outfit has to be rethought. I don't think people will ever get over shopping. That's one thing that's not going to really change as a need, as something that people need to do. Retail therapy is going to exist.
See, shopping always was a big thing, okay? I mean, this is globally. Globally, shopping is a big thing. But if you look at it, in the last 25 years or so, since online shopping has become something, become big, and since the credit card, globally the credit card has become a great value.
Of course.
You actually have people who are, and psychotherapists and psychologists who are treating people with shopping disorders. Like in the USA, there is something called post-Christmas.
Blues.
Yeah. Okay, so post-Christmas is the busiest time for psychotherapists and for therapists and people like that, the shrink as they call it. It's because people get depressed. With
Yeah,
the time.
because it's a swing, you see. You
Yeah.
go through this entire shopping high, and after you've bought whatever you needed to buy,
That's it.
you suddenly feel now there is something missing because the high has gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you fall into this little phase of depression, which is where your counselors and your psychotherapists come in to tell you that, lady, you've just overdone it. It's like having too many sodas at a go.
Yeah, it's a calm down.
It's like a sugar high.
It's a sugar high.
It's like a sugar high.
So shopping by 2050, I am predicting, is going to become completely in your house, online, on a chair.
Absolutely. It's going to be like virtual reality at your disposal to shop. So you can walk into either a Macy's or a Harrods on the other end, or
Anywhere you want.
any other. And I think small brands are really going to find the space now, because it's not about just going to the biggest and the best. It's the small ones that have things which are like really interesting, really different, that you might start, patronizing.
But all this does bring us to spending power. Okay, is to do all this, at the end of the day, to do all this, you do need money. And people have maxed out their credit cards on online shopping.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to do that.
True.
And there's this report that I read that there is a possibility of India being the second largest economy by 2050, with cash reserves of something like $85 trillion. But we can reach that space considering if we only have a GDP of 7.6 steadily,
Yes.
which right now we're nowhere near.
We are not there. We are slipping.
So, what is currency going to look like in 2050?
Currency is something that will depend largely on and the amount of currency that you have with you. That is, your spending power is going to be linked to, let's say, the number of likes you get on social media, or there might be a social credit system which is interlinked to all your identification documents, or to your barcode. Human beings could have a barcode. So wherever you go, you are registered as having entered or left or exited.
That is a very, very solid possibility. I mean, even if we're right now speculating what's going to happen in 2050, that's a very, very, very solid possibility that all of us, like right now we have Aadhaar cards and passports and stuff,
Yes.
is that we could be barcoded, on the wrist or somewhere in your body, where all your information goes into that. So all we do as people, which also now has a very dangerous trend, because there is nowhere, because you're being watched, you're constantly a person of interest,
Yes.
which in a way takes away your privacy.
Yes.
So you enter, let's say you enter the metro, you don't need a ticket anymore, you barcode.
Absolutely.
So they know
it's
who
probably
you are.
embedded under your skin.
It's embedded under your skin,
Yeah.
so everybody knows the person. I mean, the people at the metro know who you are. Forget where you're going, but what is your tax? Have you paid taxes? You haven't paid taxes. Where do you live? The kind of money that you have in the bank. What is your car number if you have a
So
vehicle?
there are no dark corners left any longer. Everything is up for public view, should we say?
Yeah. So everyone's life. That privacy of life, then find the right.
I think it's a concept which wouldn't exist.
It's gone.
It's gone. Because we see it happening in China at the moment. They have something called the social credit system.
Yeah.
Which watches each one of you, because there is something like face recognition technology which is already in use. There are cameras all over the city in every place that you go. So let's say if you were to walk into a grocery store and you picked up 5 bottles of alcohol, you would lose social credit points if you were in China, because you might be ranked with alcohol dependent people.
Being an alcoholic.
Yes, to put it very bluntly. So your social credit system would show a drop in your points, and so also that is linked. So if you go to like 0 on your social credit system, it's like you have no money left.
Yeah.
You can't buy a bus ticket if there are buses then, or you can't move out of the place. You are basically trapped in there. So those are the kind of things that we might be looking at in, what's going to be happening to our currency, how are we going to transact going forward into the future.
Another crazy one of the crazy things that could come out of that is you go to a grocer's store where you pick up, let's say, 5 tomatoes. Okay, and there's this voice over there, the speaker, which turns on and says, "You picked up tomatoes 3 days ago. You cannot eat tomatoes today." And you're going like, bloody hell, but I want to have a tomato sandwich. But you cannot eat tomatoes today. You picked up tomatoes 3 days ago. So you're going to have damn machines who are going to dictate everything you eat.
That could also happen.
So this is the reality of, this is the reality of Terminator.
So I'm kind of trying to think, how are we going to be cooking in 2050? It's really
I can't lose my stove and my pots and my pans and my spoons.
I think, Veena, you need to start selling them off because there is talk of food that can cook itself, that can heat itself. You really don't have to do anything. And actually, you don't need to cook. I'll tell you why. Because you
food will be 3D printed.
Got it. It'll be printed. So you just place an order in a restaurant and it prints itself out.
And someone as machine challenged as I am going to be starving because I'll probably be faxing the damn food instead of printing it. So there's a great chance that you may get my food. Because, I sent it to Salim, did I?
Yes. So the wrong order goes.
Yeah, so whether you want or not, you've got something that you don't want.
Yeah, but I'm sure you'll have a robot at home which will tell you, that's not your food, Veena. You better be eating something else.
Hey, you do a damn good robot voice.
Don't lie. So on that note, Veena, eating out, since we are talking about food and you're not going to be sitting at home and cooking, you are really probably going to be eating out very often, correct? So what's eating out going to be like? I think people are going to take space flights out. Restaurants will be floating around.
One is restaurants could be floating around, but I think in terms of the way restaurants and food's going to happen is they're going to get regressive. Because the more technology takes over and the more your food at home is delivered via machines and printers and stuff, I have a feeling that the concept and design of restaurants may change. Yes. So you'll probably be floating in midair, or you'll be floating in space and eating or whatever. But the kind of food that the actual cooking that we speak of will now be in restaurants.
True.
Because that will be their what's the word for it, Salim? I lost the word. I mean, that will be their special focus.
Like you have bespoke clothing, there'll be bespoke food. But there might be a difference, I think, with all these smart technologies that are going to be coming in. Your clothing already being smart clothing, which is analyzing every bit of your body as to your physical condition, your mental condition, your emotional condition. I think they will decide on the kind of food you're going to be eating out in a restaurant. So you will have your choices made for you. You don't have to go through that entire menu and really think, can I eat the chicken, can I eat the meat? They'll be like, no, what you can eat is only this or that.
Sick. Can you imagine my shirt talking to me and saying, you can't do potatoes today, shut up.
Yeah, but it won't be talking to you, it'll be talking to the chef inside. You really won't have too much of a say.
2050 doesn't sound like such a good idea anymore. I mean, one thing that I cannot compromise on is my food. And if a restaurant is going to tell me like, but something.
It'll give you choices, Veena.
Yeah, but it also does seem like. But it does seem like that is a possibility. That most of the things are going to be, because even today when you look at it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you take today's technology and the way things are with everything around us, not just fashion and food and weddings and things, but even transport and the way we are with each other and stuff, is the way things are happening.
Yeah.
Is that yes, to a large extent decisions are being made for you.
Yes.
You're being given choices. Like
choices,
if you go to
and you have to function within the parameters.
Yeah, like even withdrawing money from an ATM machine. It asks you whether you want a savings, you want a current, you want. Or
you want a 500 denomination, you want 2,000, or you want 100.
Yeah, or then it tells you, I do not have 100, I only have 500. So it's making a choice for you. So yes, choices are being made for you even now. Yeah. One of the things that worries me about the 2050s is a lot of our flora and fauna are going to be extinct.
As they exist today, but there could be bioengineered flora and fauna. You could have a garden outside your window which could be a virtual garden, and you can even probably smell the roses, but it may not actually be the rose that's smelling. It could be something else.
Which is fine. But one of the biggest worries, and which is worry right now, Salim, and may become these are wars being fought and become a huge thing, is water.
Yes.
A lot of things can be made in laboratories and technologically created and things, including food and this and that and whatever, your transport and everything. Water cannot be created in laboratories because they've been trying that. It's not like they haven't tried it, they have. Yes, you can desalinate the sea and things. One is the rising, because of all this, is the climatic change, is the rising water levels. So a lot of small islands have already started disappearing.
Because of the polar caps melting much faster than we imagined them to melt, so the water levels go up.
Yes.
So you have coastal areas in various countries which will probably go underwater. Apparently, Australia is going to be the one that's going to be the safest as far as water inundation is concerned. It's not going to submerge its coastal areas like other countries are going to. But then, of course, there is going to be a water shortage. We are all aware of the fact that water is going to be a very precious commodity.
And in fact, we are at the edge of a window of turning things around. So
Yes,
in the
it could
next
go either
12
way.
years, if we actually follow certain rules, a certain path in terms of turning around the environment, turning around ecology,
Preserving our ecology.
we can change things.
Preserving our forests.
Unfortunately, there's a horrible statistic that I read, which was that the Amazon is being destroyed at 3 football fields per week.
That's true. In fact, half of the Amazon is supposed to disappear, the forests, by 2050, which is like it holds almost 2/3 of the world's flora and fauna.
And oxygen.
And oxygen. It is an oxygen laboratory, should we say, that creates oxygen.
In fact, why are we suffering so heavily in terms of water? It's very clear, is deforestation.
That, of course, is one of the
nothing
major
else.
reasons.
See, one of the things, the technology that you're speaking of is where they're trying to harness water, is where they're trying to harness water from the air, because the air has a lot of water vapor.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of creating oxygen, I found this, in fact, in Pune, there's something called the Indian Oxygen Limited, IOL, okay, where actually the largest collection of oxygen and these oxygen tanks that are filled, it happens from there, where they capture oxygen. Do you know what it is? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Tell me about it.
It's some 20 odd acres of trees.
Oh, wow.
Of plantation, of tightly knit forests, and they capture the oxygen from there.
Wonderful.
Okay, because that's the only way. So when plants breathe out oxygen, it is being harnessed from there, and that is actually their farm.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea because both water and oxygen are two elements that we need for our survival.
So I think what we need to do at this point is give a message.
Really important.
It is. I think we need to give a message of grow more trees.
Yeah, grow more trees. And the other thing that probably comes out of this is, what we have been seeing now and which people have been talking about, whether it's really a fair practice or it's not, which is about cloud seeding. So there are many countries that have resorted to cloud seeding, which is actually stealing clouds. So do clouds also belong to countries, or are they just migratory visitors that, you can catch, seed and bring down the rain?
Okay, that is going to be a whole other discussion and topic, and if our producers think it's a good idea, we can take that up some other time.
Yes.
Okay, there's one thing which I want to talk about over here.
All right.
2050.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Talking in 2019. Almost at the end of 2019. One thing which I want to talk about. What is sexuality going to be like in 2050?
Oh my gosh. I think we are going to be witnessing
Asexuality?
not so much as asexuality, because I don't think the sexual instinct is completely going to disappear, but the manner in which we conduct ourselves sexually is definitely going to change.
Okay.
Yeah, you might have much more of virtual sex than actual sex for various reasons.
Which in a way is safer.
Of course it's safer. It might stop the spread of certain diseases which right now we are plagued with. It will also allow people to interact more freely with those that are now considered strangers, and you might not want to have anything to do with really on another level besides physically. So the entire physical aspect of sex might turn into virtual, is what I would
What
believe.
I also believe very strongly with the way things are moving right now is that what they consider as the third gender is going to become, on a serious note, be considered as, to use the completely apolitically wrong term, is normal. Over these next 30 years, is the way things are moving, no more are people going to be looking at the third gender as O, E, all that kind. It is going to be created, because with what you're saying, is sexuality becoming virtual, sexuality becoming not something which is people to people kind of a thing,
Yes.
really, in terms. So it is much more easier to accept stuff that people do not consider.
Also, it's much easier now to experiment and probably try things which otherwise might not have been tried. So what you would see happening is you could play out any fantasy that you like virtually, which you might not be actually doing in the physical state. But again, I think it's going to be a time where people are really going to be able to be themselves without things like taboos, restrictions, and those things which have bogged them down as far as exploring their sexuality goes.
There's very interesting times, actually, if you look at it right now. I started off...
Absolutely.
I started off the session personally with my mind saying, I don't know, a little cynical. But now, as we're going on and discussing, and we are almost at the end of this discussion, is 2050 seems like a very interesting time.
It's going to be a very exciting time. My advice to our viewers would be, go out there, enjoy the rain, enjoy the clouds, enjoy the nature that's around you, because all these things, eat whatever you like, breathe deeply, take in as much oxygen as you can, drink lots of water, because all these things may not be there as abundantly as we have them today.
And stop hating each other, because you're going to need each other.
Yeah, just go out there and spread love. So it was a wonderful discussion that we had on India in 2050, and with that we come to an end for today's show. Thank you for watching, and do get back to us with your comments and feedback. The Daily Eye Show.
The Daily Eye Show.